So my talk is basically upon bootstrapping a startup using Compose. So before we start, I have a very important message from one of my colleagues. Oh, so my bad. He isn't very smart, but he means well. So let's talk about startups. Startups are hard. I remember Compose from 3 years back when I was working on my first startup, and it was quite a journey. And believe me or not, like it takes some time, and there are a lot of functions around startups, not just product, that you need to take care of to just like be successful. How many of you here are from startups or being a part of startup? Nice. A round of applause for everyone, at least, who venture into this unknown. So startups are hard, but building products shouldn't be. So with open source and all the tools that are available here, with all the services that are emerging, building products isn't going to be hard anytime soon. What happens is, with ideation, prototyping, and production stages that you have in your development time in a startup, it's fairly easy now. Take any open source project, connect it to your data, plug in your variables, you have your prototype ready. Add some more work on top of it, add your logo, of course, and you have your production ready, server ready. So we did something similar on our current startup. We had a plan of action. We used Mean, which is an open source project, similarly EMQTTD, Kibana, and Kubernetes. All of those are open source projects. We had what we wanted to build using that, and the databases that we wanted to use along with those. So this was a nifty plan of action that we wanted to execute in about 2 months. But before we started working on that, we thought, let's do a little thought experiment. So while doing the thought experiment, we were looking forward towards what should we do? Should we manage all of this by our own? What does it make sense for our community, our team, and overall in general for our business? We have a really good question internally. We ask it for ourselves at all the times. Does this make sense for us to do? Versus, how can we be more lean on this? Can we delegate this task to someone else? So we ended up using Compose for most of our databases tasks, but the journey is as important as why. So I'll talk just a scenario which happened, not to us, but some of our colleagues, that they started up building a very basic web app. They got some security problems. They completed those. They got featured on Product Hunt. They had to scale. And then while they were partying, they got some monitoring alerts. And they had to scale back down. And then it ended up costing them a huge lot, which was like bad for like a step of, you get product hunted, you get some more traffic, and then you suddenly lose all that with a high cost. So with Compose, what we had there was we got 2FA on security. Why did we choose Compose? There are a lot of security reasons that every startup should think of, even before you start working on your product. So we had 2FA encryption, 2FA for authentication, then encryption is there. Then there's access management, which is really good. You can give dataset access to some people in team, versus you can hide some database from some people in team. And then there's, of course, an enterprise for you. Scaling. Not a lot of people think about scaling initially when you are building startup, but scaling becomes really tough when suddenly you get some traffic, and then you have to work all night off to do those parts. But with Compose, you don't have to worry about that. And this is true for all the database as a services and all the as a service products. But I have been a fan of Compose for the last 3 years. I've been using them, and this is more or less their talk, so we'll be focusing there. With Compose, you also get guaranteed resources. This is tough in some auto-scaling groups, where you can define what is the strategy that you want to auto-scale with, but you don't have ability to predefine some stuff. That is a really good feature. And backups. Backups might be initially like low priority. You don't want to do backups. Who does backups initially? We don't have any data to backup, but we will get some later. But yeah, with Compose, you have backups all the time there. I'm saying Compose a lot. Then you can also do manual backups, which is really good. And all of this at no cost. Then comes in monitoring. There are teams which will like to do monitoring by themselves. But you can do that, of course. With Compose, you have add-ons. You can take the data out of the Compose system. You can run those monitoring tasks on your side. You can, of course, have more people sitting on there. But I think that is a waste of time, waste of your resources at a startup. Here we get all the dashboards. You can see slow queries that are coming in. You can see all the performance. You can go back in time, see all the logs, get them back, and see all the performance gains that you can get in. And of course, you have an amazing support team. Last but not the least, the cost. In a startup, the biggest cost that you have is time. You can, of course, do all of these databases on your own. The time that it will take not to deploy, but after deployment, you have all the security upkeeps that you need to do. You have to build policies around how to do that security. You have to build policies around how to do upgrades. And you have to do those patches. And with all the updates and patches that are coming in every day, it becomes hard. And as a startup, you must not be worried about that. You should be worried about your product. So that's the biggest cost that these database as a services or as a service components save us. And that's why all the startups should go for it. Billing is hourly. That is a really good feature. You don't have any lock-in. You get started. 3 hours later, you decide that this is not a project for me, or this database doesn't work for me. You shut it down. That's it. You get charged only for 3 hours. Billing is very transparent. I like that part. You start with 1 GB on MongoDB. I use MongoDB a lot, so I know that very well. So you start with 1 GB on MongoDB, and as you need, you can keep growing, and it will keep providing you more. And scaling is like after $18, after first 1 gig, that's $21. It's like $18 every month. You don't have to worry about it. You can estimate your cost in upcoming 3 months if you know your traffic is going to be like. You can estimate your cost, and that way you can, as a startup, prepare for what is going to be coming up next. We are a bootstrap startup, so we don't have any funding initially, at least now. So we have to manage all these things on our own. We need to lower all the cost. All in all, one thing that we have learned with this thought experiment, we ended up using Compose. We have built up those services. This was about a year ago. We have changed a lot of them. We are using BigQuery now and a lot of other components. But yeah, as a startup, you always want to stay lean and always go fast. Don't encumber yourself with lots of databases. Of course, we all want to be expert, and we all want to have a little more understanding into how our data is being saved and find small efficiencies that can help our system be better. But when you are a small team, and when you are trying to scale up fast, try to stay lean. Try to give those tasks to other people. Compose, it has really good experts. I have talked to them. I've read their research papers. I've read their work on community. You should trust others to handle it for you. You can't hire all the experts. That's it. I'm Vikram. You can contact me, reach me for any questions. Thank you.